You're listening to the Ask Drone U podcast. You ask, we answer your drone questions. Whether you're here to turn your passion into profit or you simply fly for fun, we're a community of learners and teachers who aspire to achieve greatness. We are
Drone U.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Ask Drone U. My name is Paul.
And I'm Rob. Thank you for joining us today. Hope you have a beautiful day and hope you enjoy the show.
Definitely hope you enjoyed the show today. We've got a very interesting question, and it reminds us that how much we all love to learn how to fly and how much all of us have wanted to fly since we were kids. And, I will say, as you guys hear this question and the caller today, remember, we're all human. A little grace, okay, is always important because I will say it's honestly kind of refreshing to hear someone who wants so much out of a drone for such a little cost, a small cost. And I would say a couple years ago, we probably weren't far away from that. But with the rate of inflation, I'm not sure how close we can get to helping this particular caller. But I think that the value that we can provide in answering his question will be very helpful to him and to other people who are just getting into flying drones. So this will be an interesting one. So
Indeed. And like Joe, you can go to askdroneu.com for your question. There are no dumb questions. And I say it over and over again, but I assure you whatever you're thinking, so is somebody else. So be the one that has the courage to put your voice out there. We'd love to hear from you. It's all about you. So
definitely
help us make it about you.
Definitely. We do appreciate it. That said, let's get right into today's question, which is brought to you by our upcoming in-person trainings. We also have some experience trainings coming up, so make sure to stay on top of the website, thedroneu.com. And if you want to give us a little love, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen to the show. It does help, so thank you.
Hey guys, got a story. I have two drones that I lost, both, I guess because the wind is too heavy where I am because I'm by the Gulf Coast. The last one was 2 days ago. I was crushed. I flew it in other areas and had such a blast flying it. It was a Hollystone 120D, and I had a good time flying it and did all kinds of stuff, and everything worked fine. But then I brought it to my property and tried to fly it here, and it took off and never came back. I was crushing. My question is, what drone under $300, which I don't want to spend a lot of money and lose another drone, is best to buy that can handle 25 to 30 miles an hour wind? That's my question. And have all the features of GPS, follow me, return to home, navigational, all that good stuff. Thank you. I'll be looking for your response.
All right, Joe, thank you so much for the question. Like Paul said in the intro, it's actually very refreshing just to have somebody on who just is having a ball flying because it's fun. It is. I was just thinking, we've got to fly today, Paul, because I haven't flown in a little while. So in fact, I'm going to fly today.
Yeah.
I don't know what yet, but maybe the Air 2. I haven't flown that yet. Or did you send that to Jake?
I already sent that off for Don't Crash course, yeah.
Well, that's good because that means more benefit to you guys that have that drone or that want to get that drone. Regardless, love the innocence, Joe, because I'm going to be honest that what you're asking for is going to be tough to find, if not impossible, but we'll try to get you close, right?
Totally. And one of the things I want to say is that, some of us have flown and then they put down the remote for a while and then they get back into flying and tend to forget some of the nuances of taking flight. And so I will say that we have all been there when we're hopping back in the saddle, per se, of flying. And, we all crash. I would actually say anyone who has said that they haven't crashed, they're either lying to you or they're very insecure, or both. But pretty much every good drone pilot I know have crashed because that's how essentially they've tested their flight envelope almost.
Yeah, and when somebody calls in like Joe and says it was crushing, I'm like, oh, that crushes me. That it crushed you.
Yeah,
that's such a bummer.
You're right, but you know what? Also, mad props, buddy, because at least you had the cojones to call in and say, yeah, I crashed. You know what?
And it crushed me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly,
Been there.
That level of raw honesty or radical candor, if I remember that book correctly, is extremely healthy. And you, sir, will be successful no matter what you pursue, as long as you keep up that attitude. So to answer his question, I'm not sure, and I'm going to have to look this up really fast. I'm not sure that there is a drone that can really provide what he's looking for. He says that he wants a drone that can fly in 20 or 30 mile an hour winds, I think he said.
Yeah.
So,
No, he said, 25, 30 miles an hour is what he said for $300-ish.
And then have all the return to home functionality, aka GPS. I think that I want that too, just so we're real. I also don't think we're too far away from that. I think the closest thing that you're gonna find though is something like the Mavic Mini, which I can see here on Amazon for $399. The Mavic Mini will give you your return to home functionality. I don't think you're going to fly it in 30 mile an hour winds, but I've flown one in 20. I would say keep it close to you within 500 feet or so, because when the winds get high, what we often forget is how much more battery power the drone is using to fly in those winds. And sometimes if we fly out kind of far and the drone is struggling to return home because you're having to fight winds to come home, it can lead to, and we have seen this, an additional crash. So it's just a great quick reminder, when you're flying in high winds or just windage in general, that you've got to be very cognizant of where the battery is. And Joe, I would welcome you to check out and become a member. Check out the Don't Crash course. We actually have a Don't Crash course on the Mini 2. I'm not sure if it's up yet, but if it is not, it will be soon. That said, we kind of discuss all these things. We discuss these things in operations as well. And it's things that you would learn in time, but hopefully we can lower your learning curve and inhibit you from another crash. That's why it's called the Don't Crash course.
Indeed. And I'll say this as well, that yes, it's a little bit more than the price point you were looking for. My guess is that you'd be willing to go a little bit higher than that. And you kind of had to throw out a threshold for us, but it is going to be a more sophisticated drone than the Holy Stone that you're flying, and it will behave differently. And for example, the link is going to be much stronger. Those kinds of things are going to make it less likely that the drone is going to fly away from you and those kinds of things. So even though it's a little bit more than the price point you mentioned, it's worth it. And your risk of losing it, and maybe I'm being risky to say this, is less than with something like the Holy Stone. I think that's true.
I think that's fair. Or reasonable, excuse me.
Because I've flown drones. In fact, we had a friend out here at the field, and it was a really windy day, and it was a drone. It wasn't the Holy Stone, but it was something very similar. And the exact same thing happened to me. And I was crushed because I didn't lose my drone. I lost this 13-year-old kid's drone. So you want to, and we're both just sitting there going, oh no.
Here comes the humble pie.
Oh no.
Oh no.
And oh man, yeah. So that was embarrassing. On top of being crushing.
Hey,
anyways,
you know what? The fact that you just brought that up on the show, it just goes to show humility on an nth degree, Rob. And,
hey, I am who I am. We are who we are.
This is true. That said, one of the things that you brought up really fast I want to touch on is, maybe he just threw out a price point to kind of throw something out. Look, if you're looking to get into flying a little bit more, just go for the Mini 2, because you'll see that it has a different command and control link between the remote and the drone. And it's incredibly, unbelievably reliable. And if you really want to have the full experience, I would just say go to the Mini 2. You're going to spend $500 instead of $300, but I think that you'll find it completely worth it. And I would also say, for anyone listening to this show who's not new, if you're thinking about buying a Mini 2 or any drone, I would do so sooner rather than later, just because with the rate of inflation, I think we're going to see prices of everything go up. So
we already saw that happen to Skydio by about 35%.
And you still don't get a remote. But anyway, who am I?
Well, yeah, you just call it a package, whatever. What about the Tello? Is that not really going to get him where he needs to be?
Actually, I should have wrote an article yesterday about the new Tello. There's a new educational Tello, and you can actually now utilize those Tellos to teach kids how to create light shows like what we see at the Olympics and whatnot.
Super cool.
And Look, the Tello is a fun little drone, but and it's I think $100. I'm not sure how much the new one is, but I would not say that thing is capable of flying in 20-mile-an-hour winds. Maybe 10, but no way. There's just no way. I think that you would run into a lot of problems.
Yeah.
So the Spark was pretty. I wonder if you can still buy a Spark. The Spark was pretty good in the winds for how small it was, frankly, because it was heavy. It was beefy, you know.
Mm-hmm.
445. No, I would say get a Mini 2 over the Spark.
Wow, the Sparks. Well, the Mini 2 is going to be more like 500-600 though.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm sure that he could probably get a DJI Mini, not a Mini 2, for cheaper than $399 because we're on Amazon here.
Yeah.
But you might find a store that has it. But I think we answered his question. I just got to say, keep flying, buddy. Love your humility. Love the confidence. Do know that there are more ways to crash than we can honestly comprehend, and it's easy to not think that by how simple it's become to fly. And it's these points of all of a sudden everything goes wrong when something goes wrong. It's like the point when you least expect it, which is why it's so important to ensure that you're getting trained to fly, because this is not like riding a bike. You don't just pick it up and go. It needs constant practice and attention, just like my dog. Anyway.
Kona makes the show. Anyways, thank you very much for the question. We really do appreciate it.
We do. And great job, buddy. And let us know if you checked out the Don't Crash course, because I would love to find out. If you would like to support Drone U, don't forget you can become a member. You can get Part 107 and 30 additional courses to help you determine, do you want to make money in the technical or the creative space? And even if you're just trying to become a better pilot, there's no better place that has more experienced instructors than Drone U. So I will see you inside the Drone U community. My name is Paul.
Rob.
Goodbye.